Okay, we should be live.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of May, our current president, and all former presidents, of which I am one, and all of us who love the night sky, I would like to welcome you to our February meeting of the Tucson Amateur Astronomy Association. My name is David Levy. I am a member of the TAAA and have been so since my first meeting here was 1963. It is traditional that I begin a meeting with a small quotation, and tonight's will be from Carl Sagan, who wrote these words around 1980 about radio telescopes. And since we just lost a major radio telescope at Arecibo, this might be appropriate. He wrote, "Modern radio telescopes are exquisitely sensitive. A distant quasar is so faint that its detected radiation amounts perhaps to a quadrillionth of a watt. The total amount of energy from outside the solar system ever received by all the radio telescopes on the planet Earth is less than the energy of a single snowflake striking the ground." And now to you, May, and thank you. Enjoy the meeting.
Welcome, everyone. This is our TAAA, Tucson Amateur Astronomy Association monthly meeting. We meet the first Friday of every month, and we're delighted here to have our members attending via Zoom and to have our guests on Facebook. And so we have an interesting meeting for you tonight. I wanted to say a few introductory things before we start. One is that we have Jim Knoll with us and Terry Lappin with us, helping us on the computer tonight and with Facebook. And so if you have any issues or problems, you can let them know. And we will coordinate with our Facebook people with their questions and with our members' questions, so that when you have questions for our speakers, we will make sure that all of them get answered. For those of you who are attending on computer, I'd like to point out that toward the bottom of your screen, if you move the cursor toward the bottom of your screen, you have a mute sign on the left and a stop video sign on the left. We encourage you to keep your mute on during the presentations and during the questions for the speakers, because we'll ask you to enter the questions in chat. And make sure to keep your video off if you're doing anything that you might not want all of us to see. And you will help us a lot to keep the mute off for the sound, because we do get background noises from environments when we have the mute turned off on many computers. If those of you who are operating your screen, if you will go over to about 6 spaces on your screen, you'll find the chat. You can click on that to type in any questions that you have, and we will save the questions with speakers until the end of the presentation that the speaker's giving, unless it is a question that relates to something, understanding or hearing something the speaker just said, or reading or understanding something that's on a particular item on the screen at the time. If you have that kind of question, we will address it immediately, but longer thought questions, we'll hold all of those to the end, and we'll go through them all at the end. We are going to try a different feature for those of you who are attending by computer tonight. If you keep going to the right of the bottom of your screen, you will see a category called reactions. And if you click on reactions, you'll see at the bottom of that a sign that says raise hand. And this is if you have a question that is too complicated to phrase in the chat, in writing in the chat, you may click on raise hand, and then at some point we will call on you to get a better description of that question. Every once in a while, there's something that we found that may be a little bit more complex to discuss, then people can put in the chat. So we're trying to find a way to cope with that tonight, and you can help us out with that if you're in that situation. For those of you who are on Facebook, we will have Terry and Jim will be monitoring Facebook, and so they will make sure that your questions get addressed. And I have just lost my picture. Will somebody tell me if I'm still connected?
Yes, you are, May.
Okay, so I don't know what happened to my picture, but as long as I'm still connected, that's helpful. The one of the things that I want to do too is to explain to our audience, that our member audience, that we will do breakout sessions after the meeting. And our choices tonight for breakouts are Astronomical League, Chiricahua Astronomy Complex, and astroimaging for topics. So if our members will enter into the computer at any point a choice of 1 for Astronomical League, 2 for Chiricahua Astronomy Complex, and 3 for astroimaging, then we will be able to get that entered in and be ready for the breakout rooms. With our Facebook people, we will say goodbye to them prior to the time that we come to the breakout sessions. And so our Facebook people won't be involved in that member function. Our first presenter tonight is Doug Smith, who is our Astronomical League coordinator. And Doug is going to both mention some basic information about the Astronomical League for people who may not know what that is. And then we'll go into some more detail and specific information that he has to present. So Doug, are you ready to share your screen?
Yeah, let me unmute. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Let's see if this works. Oh, it worked. Okay. So can everybody see the presentation?
Yes, I just got my picture back so I can see.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the Astronomical League. 2020 was actually a good year for the Astronomical League, even though it was a rotten year for everyone else. Amateur astronomy was actually very busy during that year, and the Astronomical League was very busy. So this is the agenda I'm going to go through. I'm going to give a quick discussion of what the Astronomical League is. I'm going to talk about the benefits of being a member of the Astronomical League. I'm going to talk about the new observing programs. There was a whole bunch of new programs added last year. I've got planned upcoming events for the Astronomical League for TAAA. That's all dependent on how things fall out with COVID-19, of course. I'll do a brief review of the Astronomical League website changes that we made on the TAAA website. And I'll talk about the monthly bulletin that we send out every month. And then I'll finish off with the status of the Astronomical League membership in TAAA. So the Astronomical League is made up, it's a collection of over 240 amateur astronomy societies all across the United States. All of these organizations, along with the members at large, the patrons, and other supporting members, together, they form one of the largest amateur astronomical organizations in the world. The main objective of the Astronomical League is to promote the science of astronomy. They do that by fostering education in astronomy, providing incentives for astronomical observation and research, and by assisting communication among all the different astronomical societies that are members. Some of the benefits for membership in the Astronomical League are the observing programs. The observing programs are really nice. They provide a guidance for people who want to do things with their telescope rather than just go out and look at the usual targets like Jupiter and the moon. They provide a nice organized guidance, a list of objects to look for, and they provide rewards for accomplishing that goal in terms of a certificate that you can hang in a wall and like a little pin that you can put in your hat or on a lapel type pin. And you get recognition in the quarterly journal, which is the Reflector. They put that out. It's a magazine that goes out every 3 months. And in that magazine, in addition to articles of various types, there is a list of all the people who have won various awards with these observing programs. Another benefit of the Astronomical League that is unfortunately not used very much, but it's very useful, is a book service. The Astronomical League will search out any book, any title that's related to astronomy, even old books that are no longer in print. The Astronomical League will try to locate it for you and will offer you a really good price if they find it, usually a fairly good discount over retail. And they'll look really hard. I had them find a book for me that was 50 years old. And they found it. The Astronomical League provides a lot of resources to help new astronomy clubs get started. Lots of how-to guides on how to do things like set up a nonprofit organization, how to set up your tax-exempt status, how to hold astronomical meetings, how to put together a new member packet, and a long list of other things that are useful for astronomical clubs that are just getting started. The Astronomical League also provides liability insurance for astronomy clubs, which is a very useful thing. The Astronomical League participates in numerous outreach programs all over the world. They have a telescope loaner program associated with libraries. Many of the libraries, you can get telescopes on loan, just like you check out a book. And the Astronomical League helps set that up through the different astronomy clubs around the country. The Astronomical League holds a number of conventions. The country is divided into 8 regions. Each region holds their own convention, and then the Astronomical League also holds an annual convention every year at some location. The Astronomical League works with clubs and schools and professional astronomy organizations all over the world in the pursuit of doing astronomy. They have a very nice website. You can go check it out. You can just search for it just by typing in Astronomical League in the search bar, and it'll find the website for you. So as I said, the Astronomical League was actually very busy last year. They added a number of new programs. They already had a very large list of programs. They added 8 additional programs to their already very large list. So the first one is called the Astronomical League Observing Challenge Certificate Program. And I will go through each of these programs and explain a little bit of information about them. There's an alternate constellations observing program. There's a program called Astronomy Before the Telescope. There's a program called Foundations of Imaging, Observing. There's a Library Telescope Award program. They added a program called the Lunar Evolution Observing Program. They added a new program to their master program list called the Master Imager Award. And they added a program called the Mentor Award. In addition to these new programs, they went through all of the old programs and tried to put in an imaging option for all of the programs that did not have one before. Many of the old Astronomical League programs, you had to sketch various objects as part of the program. For most of those programs now, there is also an imaging option, so that you don't have to necessarily do sketches. Not for all of them, but for most of them. So the Astronomical League Observing Challenge Certificate is what they do now is the Astronomical League will identify special opportunities for like one-time events, and they will set up criteria to do for that event to observe and log and so forth to earn the award. The first one they did was the Great Conjunction of 2020 with the Jupiter and Saturn being real close together. They set that program up as a special challenge program, and they set up specific criteria for doing imaging, observing, and outreach related to that. And there's a certificate that goes along with that award. And this will be something that's ongoing. And every time there's some kind of special event like that, they will have another challenge award available to go after. Another new program was the Alternate Constellations program. So this program is a continuation of they already have two constellation programs in there. There's a Northern Constellation Hunter and a Southern Constellation Hunter, where you go and you look at the constellations and you sketch them and sort of requirements. Well, now this one is, you're looking at constellations that no longer exist, obsolete constellations or constellations that were developed by cultures outside of Europe. Like there's some Chinese constellations or some American Indian constellations. And this program, you have to identify those constellations and sketch them and observe them. And this will be an interesting program. That's a very new program. Another new program is this Astronomy Before the Telescope. This program is designed to get you to look at how astronomy was done prior to the days of the telescope, how to use primitive devices from the Greeks and the Chinese and early instruments like sundials and quadrants and various devices, and you have to construct these devices yourself. That'll be a fun program. Foundations of Imaging. This is something for an astrophotographer to go after. They give you a list of targets to try to image. Different types of targets, different whole variety of targets. The Library Telescope Award is very similar to what they used to do for what they still do for the outreach awards, except here it has to do with your participation in activities related to library loan telescopes, very similar to outreach. And you get an award when you get enough hours related to this activity. The Lunar Evolution Program is another one of the lunar observing programs, except here you're looking at different parts of the moon in terms of the evolution, how different ages of different terrain on the moon. And you look at the Apollo lunar landing sites and you look at the areas and how that relates to the evolution and the age of the rocks. The Master Imager Award, like I said, this is another one that they added to their master list now. This is for the imager who wants to get a master award for his imaging skills. And again, it's a long list of images that they want you to take of different objects, different methods, and so forth to show that you're a master astro imager. And then there's the mentor award, which is for people who want to be recognized as mentors. They work closely with a novice to help them develop their observing skills and so forth. And you get an award for when you get to a certain number of hours that you worked as a mentor. So I'm still planning on doing a couple of activities related to the Astronomical League, depending on COVID-19, of course. Last couple of years, I've done a workshop related to the different Astronomical League observing programs. I've done this workshop once a year. I didn't do it last year because of COVID-19. I don't know if I'll get a chance to do it this year. I hope I do. I was also planning on doing TIMPA nights. I was going to have dedicated TIMPA nights out at the TIMPA observing site that would be dedicated for a specific Astronomical League observing program. Like I had planned on doing a TIMPA night for those people who were working on their Northern Constellation Hunter Award. And I would be out there helping them with that observing. And I would go through and do it like every 3 months so that over the course of a year, they would be able to do all of their required observations at those TIMPA nights with me helping them as a mentor. Again, the COVID-19 has made that impossible, but I'm still keeping that on my schedule for possible future. I'm going to do a quick run through of the Astronomical League website on the TAAA website, some of the more interesting features and so forth. So if you go to the TAAA home site, you see this page, and in the red box, that pull down under resources, there's Astronomical League there. And if you click on that, you go to this page, which has a box for where you can join the Astronomical League, which will take you to Member Planet. It has this red box down here will take you directly to the Astronomical League website list of all their observation programs. If you click on that link, farther down on this page, you'll see other links to different things. There's a link there that's called Observation Logs, and that'll take you to a page where you can download the different types of log forms that you need for your different observing programs. There's also a link for the Astronomical League, what I call resources, and that website will have information about all the basic Astronomical League programs. And then you've got the two blue boxes, which are, again, will take you to the list of the Astronomical League websites, observation programs. So this is the website you go to if you go to that observing logs. And here's the list of observing log sheets that you would use for probably 80 or 90% of the observing programs. You would use one of these different log sheets. And so if you click on any of those logs, you go right to the log sheet and you can download it to your computer and then print off as many copies as you need. Also down there there's at the bottom, there's a seeing and transparency guide. All of the observation programs require that you rate your seeing and transparency for each observation that you make at night. And the Astronomical League has their own guidelines for seeing and transparency. And if you click on that seeing and transparency guide link, it goes to a page that describes what those criteria are for the Astronomical League. This is the observation resourcing page that you can get to. And here is information about some of the basic programs. Like for the Messier observing program, there's a requirements link there that shows you what the requirements are. There's those two pictures there. One of them is actual location of all the Messier objects in the sky. And then the little table on the right is actually a list of all the Messier objects with their right ascension and declination and other information, all in a nice, neat table. And then there's TELRAD maps for anybody who uses a TELRAD finder, and so forth. And then the next one down is the Lunar Observing Program. And oops, yeah, yep, I went too far. And farther down, there are more programs. There's a lunar program information where it gives you the different phases, when the different phases occur for each month. There's a constellation program that shows you which constellations are up this month, which constellations you should look for in Constellation Hunter program. There's the Urban Observing Program information, which lists the objects that you would look for that month to meet the Urban Observing Program requirements. There's a planetary observing program link that would tell you what planets are up and where they are for each month, for that particular month. And all of that information is on that one website, on that one page that you get to off of the TAAA page. Okay, and then let's see. Both these pages, you can get to them from there, yeah. Okay. Also, another thing I do is in the bulletin that goes out each month, I publish a list, essentially a what's up list for those same basic programs for the Messier, the Constellation Hunter, the Lunar, Planetary, and the Urban Observing Program. I publish a list of the objects that are easy to see that month for each of those programs. So if you're working on those programs, you can go to the bulletin and just see what's up that month so you know what to look for. And this is sort of what it looks like. For example, for the Constellation Hunter, I'll list the constellations that are easy to see for that month. For like March and April, there's the list. During the same period, March and April, I put the phases of the moon, new moon, 40 hours, 72 hour, and so on. And those are the time periods that the lunar program wants to look at, 40-hour moon, 72-hour moon, and so on. So I give you the dates when you would look at that. For the planets, I give you the same thing. I gave you the information about planets. For the Messier, there's the list of the Messier objects that are easy to see in March and April. And likewise, for the Urban Observing Program, I give you the list of objects. So you can get that information from the bulletin if you're working on those programs. And finally, I'll end with the status of the information of our Astronomical League membership. As of February 1st of this year, in the TAAA, we have 117 people in the Astronomical League. That's a little over 25%. Last year was a busy year for TAAA members. We awarded 32 observing awards last year. That's better than the year before. So, and that is the end of my presentation. So I will take questions now, if there are any.
If there are any questions, you can enter them in the chat, or you can ask them directly.
Now, to ask them directly, you will need to raise your hand, which is under reactions, so that we can unmute you.
Right. So I'm not running into any at the moment.
Okay.
Do we have any on Facebook?
Terry
Terry.
said no Facebook.
None on Facebook. Okay. So perhaps there will be some more
Oh,
questions, or people
I
are
see two
holding them
people
for
with
the
raised
breakout
hands.
rooms.
I see two people with raised hands.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Susan Bale, I saw you first. I don't know who raised their hand
And
first.
I have two questions in chat.
Okay.
Three
So
questions.
Susan, do you want to go?
Yeah, I had put it in chat. I
Okay.
wanted to know how I can find out about my membership with AL because I contacted them and I didn't get an answer back as to when it expires.
I can tell you. What's your name?
Susan Vale.
Give me 30 seconds.
Because I want to renew it.
Okay.
While he's doing that, Kay, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
It was a very similar question because I got a notice saying that my membership was expiring. And I know the last time I paid it, I was in, in a real live meeting and I gave cash to
Okay.
Vernon.
So who was the
And
first? Who was the first person? What was her name?
Susan Vale.
Susan Vale. Okay, Susan Vale.
So I was just wondering how you pay now.
Okay, I don't even have Susan Vale listed right now, which means your membership must have expired.
So maybe it would be helpful to both Susan and Kay for you to address how they can pay membership.
Yes, you can pay through Member Planet, or you can just send a check to the post office address for the TAAA.
Okay.
Mark on the check with a little note saying it's for Astronomical League membership.
I will. Thank you.
Okay,
And
thanks.
if you're sending something to that mailbox, it's really helpful if you also identify on the outside of the envelope where you put TAAA. If you just put TAAA-Astronomical League, then that will probably help expedite it a little quicker.
So I have a question from Richard Spitzer in the chat, and he is asking, are these programs meant for people using a go-to telescope? The answer is yes, for most of the programs. Most of the programs allow you to use a go-to telescope. There are a few select programs that require you not to use a go-to telescope, and they specifically tell you that in the requirements. The main program that does not allow you to use a go-to telescope is the Messier program. You cannot use a go-to telescope for that program. But for most of the other programs, you are allowed to use a go-to. The second one is from Thomas O'Keefe. And again, it's to join the Astronomical League. Do we sign up directly or through TAAA? Please sign up through TAAA. Use the Member Planet link or send the check to the TAAA address. Astronomical League, if you try to sign up with them directly, the first thing they're going to ask you is, what astronomy society are you a member of? And they're going to associate you with TAAA as soon as you tell them that anyway. And the last question, okay. And then I have is the Reflector magazine digital only or print? It's print. It's actually mailed out to you. You can request that you want a digital copy, but if you don't specifically ask for a digital copy, they're going to mail it to you. I get one every 3 months. And then from David Evans, he wants me to check on his membership. Okay, I will do that.
And Terry has her hand up, so go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the library telescope program is because, I mean, we have library telescopes out in the community, but is that award for it looks like it's for an individual who has a library telescope or?
Now, it's a new program, so I don't totally understand it, but I read the requirements. It's for an individual, but it's not for checking your telescope out. It's for putting the work in setting up the program. Like you go to a library and you work with the library to
Okay.
arrange for them to do the telescope loaners through the library, and you get credit for the time you spend helping to set up that program.
Okay, I know a couple people that probably qualify for that then.
I'm
Yes.
guessing we have a couple people in the club who already qualify for that.
All
Yeah.
right, thanks.
Yes, and it is nice that they represent the club in doing that, and that we collect money from people that, you know, come to the club to or write grants for money for those telescopes, so that we have a club program to do that. So, any other questions for our Astronomical League? I
I
think
got
the
a comment from Gary Benson. Just, it's helpful to know whether you get a copy of it in mail. So Gary, if you don't get your copy by, the next one goes out in April, I think. If you don't get it by May 1st, let me know and I'll try to track down what's going on.
I do have a question from Facebook
Okay.
about astronomical imaging. Are there programs for those that use only a DSLR with a tracker and long lenses or telescope lenses?
I don't know specifically. You would have to read the requirements to see what's involved. There are specific requirements on the targets, and I'm not sure there's requirements as to the equipment you use, but I know there's a requirement on the list of targets.
And Susan Vale's got a question again. Go ahead, Susan.
I
Okay.
forgot to ask you, Doug, is it still $10 or is it
No,
now?
it's $750
Oh, okay.
for the Astro League. Isn't that right? Someone tell me if that's right. I thought that's what we charged.
That's what it costs, $750.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Doug. We appreciate that. Members, please remember to put your selections for the breakout rooms in the chat if you've not done that. Selection 1 is Astronomical League. Selection 2 is the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex. And section 3 is Astro Imaging. Okay. For our next presentation, we have 3 people who assembled a presentation for us to answer some of the questions people had about our dark sky site at the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex. It's really wonderful that our organization has 2 sites that that emphasize dark skies where people can observe. And so I think Jim Knoll is going to start maybe the presentation for the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex.
Yeah, and maybe before I do that, Susan mentioned that there were a couple other questions on Facebook related to whether we have members outside of the state. And we do. We have members from all over the country, and some of them are snowbirds and are only here part of the time. But yes, we do have, and membership is open to anyone. So yeah, you can join and be able to participate in some of the activities, even if you don't live here.
And we have various members from out of state who are attending this meeting with us tonight. So it's really a great benefit that we can do that. Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to transition to now is a little overview of the club's dark site, which we call the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex. So the Astronomy Complex is a stuff here. So it's our club's dark site. We have 16 acres, about 100 miles southeast of Tucson. And on that property, we have a fairly large Dobsonian telescope, a 40-inch Dob. We also have a 9-inch folded refractor, which I believe is one of a kind. And it's a 9-inch refractor, but what the manufacturer did is actually cut it in half and folded it with a mirror, and that allowed them to make it a little more compact. We have a 14-inch Celestron Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope in a roll-off observatory. We have 10 public pads that are available for member use. And then we also have 10 member leased pads that members can lease them over a period of time and allow them to use it for their own use. We're in the process of building a learning center and sleeping rooms. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. We also have 4 RV sites. And then we're also going to be planning some 15 to 17 member observatories. And we'll chat towards the tail end a little bit about that as well. And we probably will expand the member leased pads as well at some point in time. So here's just kind of a site overview diagram of the 16 acres. So we had 4 members that generously donated the 40-acre property. And then actually they bought the 40-acre property and then they donated 16 acres to the club. So that therefore they each kept 6 acres around the perimeter to kind of give us a little bit of a buffer between any of the neighbors out here. So if you can see my cursor, all right, up here at the top is the entrance road. And then as you come down, you'll see some parking areas around the perimeter here. And right in the center is our leach field and will eventually probably be made available for tent camping. We also have a ramada with picnic tables. We have the Reynolds Mitchell Observatory is the observatory that we call for that's the 40-inch Dobsonian telescope and the 9-inch folded refractor. And then we have some containers for storage. We have 3 right now with the possibility of a 4th. As I mentioned in the overview, we have 10 public pads. So that's these guys right in here. These are available for members to use whenever they make a reservation. Also, we have 10 member pads, and that's these guys right here. So these are leased pads the members can lease. This cleared area is probably where there'll be some more member pads in the near future. Over here are the 4 RV sites. And then we also have water and well and a restroom facility. So that's kind of a general overview. The 2, one of the areas that we're working on right now is the member observatories. And I think that's, let me talk a little bit more about them first. So the member observatories are going to be observatories that members can lease once they put up the money. And they'll actually be able to do remote observing from off-site or from on-site. And it'll be basically a full-fledged observatory with a roll-off roof kind of capability that they will have exclusive use to use while they have the lease. And then we're contemplating, and we'll probably do 4 or 3 Dob pads down here at this end. So what this would be is larger observing areas with a container for the large Dobs, so that you've got them right there and you can roll them right out on your pad. Here is just a quick overview of what the site looks like from above. So again, this is the Ramada. This is the Reynolds Mitchell Observatory Complex over here. We have a warm room plus the 40-inch telescope and the 9-inch telescope. Back here is our learning center and sleeping rooms that we're in the process of building right now. They're even further along than this picture shows. Restroom facility, the 3 containers I was talking about, the 10 public pads that members can observe from. These are the leased pads back here that members can use. The 14-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain Celestron telescope is in the Wally Rogers roll-off roof here that members can take training on and learn how to use. And then this is back in this area is the area that we will probably be expanding a little bit too. This just shows a close-up of the, little closer up of the area. Off to the right over in this area is where we will be building the member observatories. And then this is right at the edge of the RV spots right here. This is the septic leach field in the middle that will get cleared and be able to do tent camping in there, as well as some off the parking area off the left side. So this is all parking, and then some parking just right in front of the public paths. So here's a close-up view of the observatories, the member observatories. So you'll come in off the edge of off the end of the RV sites here, and you just kind of have we'll have a one-way path going around with some parking in front of each of the observatories. You can continue on around. These will be the two dot pads over here plus one here. Come around this way with additional parking, and then you'd exit back out. At some future time, we might have a caretaker cottage to kind of keep an eye on things, and that's right here. Let's see, I think that is it. Yeah, so that's what that's it for that section. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it over to Ed Foley and Mike McDowell to talk a little bit more about the construction and show what we got going on there. Mike, I may have to bring Mike up on the chat here, but Ed, you can go ahead and start. So I think I have Mike as a co-host now. And Ed, you should be able to unmute and start. Okay, now both Mike and Ed, you should be able to talk.
Okay, there we go. Mike?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Wouldn't allow me to unmute there for a while.
Yes, yes. Uncharacteristically quiet.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah. So anyway, so here is a familiar view of that Jim already shared of kind of the whole or a big chunk of the facility anyway. And as Jim pointed out, this is where the construction is underway.
We're only seeing the thumbnails, I think.
Yes.
Oh, we are. Oh, really?
Yes. Why don't you click on one of those?
Boy, I see a full screen.
Uh-oh.
Let me try again here.
Jim, there were a couple of questions in the chat. Do you want to do those while we're adjusting a bit?
Jim's muted.
All right, I was taking care of some more breakout rooms. Yes, we can.
Okay. Let's see, we had a comment from Alaska, I guess. I hope to visit CAC soon when it's open and safe to do so. A question from Peter is, will the overnight cabins have restrooms or shower facilities?
And the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
So we'll have, yeah, the rooms will have restrooms within each facility. And Mike, they do have showers within each one too, right?
That is correct. Yes.
But this is,
There will be two restrooms and 2 showers in each of the buildings.
that's the 2 new buildings, but not the member observatory buildings, right?
No, those are just roll-off roofs.
Okay.
So is this any better of you?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
We had-
Okay.
We had one, let's see, another question, which was which pads have power available?
All of them.
Okay. And when will the 2 new buildings be completed?
What a wonderful question. I
This
wish I had
year.
I wish I had an answer this year, though, sometime. Yeah. So again, this is a quick drawing, kind of plan view. We talked about the Reynolds-Mitchell Observatory here, the Ramada and the bathroom that are existing facilities, the public pads and the member pads. So what we're building is the 2 new buildings plus a multi-telescope observing pad. And this is going to be a learning center pad. There will be 3 Schmidt-Cass telescopes mounted here on permanent piers, a 9¼ an 11 and a 12-inch, and then an 18-inch Dobsonian that will all be available for member use. So again, this is kind of superimposed on an aerial photo of the site. There will be handicap access to the buildings as well as the restrooms in the buildings. Here's a quick, this is probably too detailed for people to get a real sense of, but in the easternmost building, there will be a large classroom type facility with a kitchen area and 3 sleeping rooms and the 2 bathrooms with showers that we talked about. And then in the sleeping room building, there will be 7 additional sleeping rooms and 2 additional bathrooms with showers. And there's this 20 by 30 foot pad in between that hopefully someday we'll cover over and make a nice additional Ramada area for picnicking. So, and here's what it started out looking like a while ago, and I'm just gonna kind of deliberately click through some of these to show you kind of a timeline of activity as the sites were getting prepared for the buildings. The forms were going up for the foundations. Foundations were getting prepped, foundations getting poured. We're starting to see some of the vertical members come up, the roof supports, and the buildings starting to get their lumber framing. And this is what they look like pretty much today. Oops, sorry about that. And you can see here in the a little bit in the foreground where the learning center pad will be, the 3 holes there, the 3 craters are going to be where the piers are going to be installed. And again, each one of these telescopes will be provided with power also. Each one of the Schmidt-Casses will have a little roll-off box, kind of like the folded refractor, a little smaller version of that that will roll off to the north, uncovering the telescope and allowing it to be ready for use. So that's kind of where we are right now. And this image is from just a couple of days ago. Ed, do you have any more you want to add to that?
Yeah, just a comment overall about this facility. Of course, we're fortunate as an association to have 2 dark sites. Our site on the west side over the Tucson Mountains, Timpa, which is convenient to the city, but on the other side of the mountains from the city, which makes it fairly dark and a convenient place for us to do lots of activities like our Astronomical League type classes and joint observing sessions. But this site here in Cochise County, although somewhat distant and a bit of a drive for most people coming from the city, is quite an extraordinary place. The members who bought this property looked for quite a while to find a place that was isolated enough that it would stay dark. And this site, for those of you who have been down there, know it is very dark. And we have got here a piece of property that we own, in contrast to our site outside of the city we call Timpa. Timpa we rent, this one we own. And this one, we have now got an investment approaching $750,000, all through the generosity of the members of TAAA. What you see is individual members thinking about the legacy that they want to leave to the organization, generous donations from many, many members to make this happen, and their donations capturing the imagination of a number of foundations in Southern Arizona that have seen what we do with our outreach, with our education in the community, and things like the Festival of Books, Astronomy Day, our school star parties, and of course the Grand Canyon Star Party. All of these things that we do to help those outside of our membership to enjoy and better understand astronomy. And this site, we hope, will be a testament to that outreach activity, as well as providing a source of entertainment for our members. But this learning pad is going to have telescopes that are able to be used by the average Joe. We'll be able to bring our high school groups back to CAC, do their observing nights, and have them actually be able to hands-on operate telescopes that when they go home, they could aspire to have very similar scopes as a young amateur. So we're very anxious for this to get put together for multiple reasons. And the community is anxious for them to go into service as well. It's quite an extraordinary story of TAAA, its members, and the community all coming together to put money invested in science. It's a wonderful thing to behold. And by the way, those are the Chiricahua Mountains there in the background for those of you who haven't been down there and wondered how we got this name. Right there, staring at those beautiful mountains when we get down there.
I'd like to add a comment here to add, wonderful discussion about how this has come about. And that is, we have had all the wonderful financial support from our members and from some grants and from members writing grants that Ed mentioned. And the other is that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of volunteer time in this site, that of all of a whole long list of people who have made enormous contributions to this site and spent time investing in it, rather than doing other things that they could be doing that maybe they would have their time paid for. So we're appreciative in all kinds of ways of this site. And it really is a sign of the generosity of people and of the motivation towards science.
Absolutely. Looks like we have quite a few questions on on the chat and Facebook. So let's just go through a few of those and then I'll wrap it up with a look at the website. Let's see. From Neil on Facebook, any idea what the price range would be for renting one of the observatories? Also, what would the data rate be in and out of them? We haven't really finalized the, and it's not going to really be set up to rent. What we're going to do is we're going to allow members to you put up capital up front in order to build the facilities, and they will have exclusive use. So it's going to be more like a long-term lease, and depending upon how many we build and how the infrastructure is and all that kind of stuff, we'll determine what the rate's going to be or what the cost is going to be. At the end here, I will talk a little bit about the website, and I'll show you where you might be able to get some more information on that. And for the other guys on here, just jump in if necessary, if I'm not quite answering the.
Well, I would just jump in, Jim, real quick on the internet speed. We have fiber optic cable to the site that has the potential for up to gigabit speed on the internet. So plenty of bandwidth.
Hey, Jim, you missed a question above that one. The one from Peter Jeddick.
Well, that was it when we were talking about the facilities. I guess maybe we didn't answer that one. Yeah, as long as you're a member for TAAA, you can stay in the sleeping rooms. Now, we haven't really set all the procedures up yet as far as, is there going to be a maximum stay or something like that? Some of that may determine on the popularity, but certainly I would think for a week or 2 weeks during the dark sky period that would be a player. So we haven't really worked out the details yet of the sleeping rooms and how we're going to manage that. But Ed, if you want to jump in any more on that.
Well, we'll have a reservation system where members and their guests would be able to reserve rooms. There'll be a nominal fee to pay the expenses of the stay. It's not a profit-making venture. It's for the convenience of our members, of course. And the rooms will be set up so that we've got probably 2 beds in each room. There are 2 rooms that will only be able to take 2 beds, but you can see that we've got a fair amount of capacity. And as we get closer to the completion of the buildings, we'll get out to our membership with more detail as to what that reservation process will look like.
Yeah, and a little more detail on some of the typical procedures that'll happen to allow you to make a reservation and to be able to observe. Right now we have a CAC site director, and so all reservations have to go through that person to schedule the different pads and things like that. This will be an extension of that, although we'll have one individual primarily responsible for the reservation system to make sure that is managed appropriately. All right, let's see. We did that one from Robert. Does the RV parking have any power available? Yes, we have 4 sites there, 4 parking spots, 1 with 50 amp circuit and the other 3 with 30 amp. They're just electric, so there's no septic available right there. So you'd have to, come with an empty tank and dump the tanks elsewhere. We do have well water available, so you could refill your water tanks if necessary. Gary just says from Alaska, he's been there 3 times, and each one was well worth the long trip. Charles on Facebook is asking about the observing event on February 13th, if it's still happening. It is right now. This is the Chiricahua National Monument semi-annual star party. We're going to be working out the details with the Rangers next week. I do not believe, though, that we will have any telescopes there, although we might set up 1 or 2 with video capabilities so that we don't have members, the public looking directly do an eyepiece. But last time we did this in March timeframe, just as things were shutting down, and I guess it was actually in October. We didn't do any telescopes, and we just did a walk around the night sky with lasers. So we'll certainly at least do that, and we may even do some telescopes with social distancing. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. Keep an eye on the event on our Facebook page, and we'll be posting some updates about it shortly. Paul's asking, do you need or want volunteers to help in the construction and cleanup? You know, that's always a possibility once we get down that path. The contractor is doing a pretty good job of that, but I'll let Ed and Mike answer any more on that.
Well, we wish we could have volunteers do more construction, but our permit allows only a licensed contractor to do work on the buildings themselves. We have plenty of work needed at the site, so anybody that is interested in volunteering to help us with site maintenance or other activities we've got down there, please get with the CAC director and let them know that you'd like to be involved. It's quite fulfilling to be able to go down there and make the place look as good as it does. The pictures that you see, it is a clean and crisp site because of the volunteers who have put countless hours into making it that way and keeping it that way. And keeping the weeds off of that gravel is one heck of a project. And I think we've got a project to clean the camping area here coming up soon, don't we, Jim?
Yeah, that'll probably be the next big project is cleaning the weeds out of the camping area, and working with the local fire department to do a burn and then lay down some pea gravel. So there's always maintenance stuff that needs to be done out there, and we'll probably try to start doing some more organized work parties. Maybe, you know, once we can open the site again and get observing out there, then we can also maybe try to do some work parties in and amongst that, since a lot of times we don't have anything better to do during the day anyway, right?
Right.
There's Terry did an entry for a question from Facebook, I think.
Yeah, I'm just kind of working down my list. So the next one from Terry is from Michael. I'm out of state and would like to join the club. Are there members that could help advise in completing a from scratch telescope build? Eventually, the telescope would reside in the Vail, Arizona area. I mean, I don't know if we have very many amateur telescope makers in the club anymore, but I'll defer that to some of the older heads in the club if you want to take a shot.
I sent Terry a reply basically saying the same thing. I don't know anyone in particular who's built a telescope from scratch, but we do have materials in the library on how to do that.
We have many members who have built them from scratch, but they're not building them today.
Okay. But we also have we have quite a few materials in the library.
And I did enable the unmute function for members. So if anybody else has anything they want to add on that, just chime in as necessary.
And just to complement that answer, anyone that's got an interest like that, a good place to go to reach all of the members with questions like, can anybody give me some advice on building this particular scope? Turn to the TAAA forum. Those of you who are not on the forum, it's a great exchange of ideas and observing happenings. And the directions on how to join the forum are on the website on the tab titled cleverly TAAA forum.
Yeah, Ed, one other thing I would mention is that there has been an informal kind of telescope makers group that has met from time to time pre-COVID days. Bill Wheeler, Joe Jacoby, John Mead, myself, and some others who have in the past and or now are engaged in telescope making. So we do have some folks with that expertise and knowledge in the club and interested in doing that.
Yeah, okay. And this kind of leads into this next question. Luke from Facebook asked that says that, CAC is amazing. How do I become a TAAA member and Astronomical League member? So a lot of these are benefits of our membership. When I wrap up here, I'm going to show you where some of the CAC information is, but I'll also show you on the website where you can join and become a member. So hang on for that in just a second. Is there an estimated completion date for the CAC dorm building? We kind of talked about that, hopefully sometime this year. Let's see. For the breakout rooms, if you have not, we'll probably do a slightly abbreviated version, depends on when we wrap things up here. But just let me know which breakout room you want to go into, and I'm trying to pre-assign people into those as we go. And I will activate them once we get to that point. So that was from Robert Galucci. So there should be, you can indicate a number 1 if you want to go into the Astronomical League breakout room, a number 2 for the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex breakout room, number 3 for the Astro Imaging breakout room. And then if you don't select any at all, you just stay in the main one. Next question from Kevin is CAC currently open for observing? It is not. The board of directors reassesses that every month at the board meeting. So now that the numbers are starting to go down, hopefully we'll be able to get it open sooner rather than later. But Mike, I don't know if Mike or May, do you want to add on to any of that?
What you said is accurate. We're reviewing it every month and hoping to get operations going there as soon as practicable.
Yes, we do have some specific criteria that we're looking at. They're pretty detailed and specific, and we've kind of tried to do the best that we can in trying to find a way to deal with the COVID situation. So, and believe me, we're all anxious to try to get down there and get the site open and to enjoy it to its fullest. So, so just hang in there as we progress through this disease process.
All right, let's see. So Terry, we mentioned the breakout room assignments, so just put your stuff in there. Jeff asked, let's see, yeah, Maggie and Jeff asked, is there, how does a member reserve an RV space? So you do that through the CAC director, and I'll show you. The reservation process doesn't cost anything right now, but once we evolve into this thing, we're going to be transitioning into a nominal fee per night for these facilities, just to pay for the electricity and to help cover the maintenance and that kind of stuff. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when I show you the website. Got a few more. It looks like people to assign to breakout rooms, so I'll do that here in just a minute. Chris was asking what the timing for the large Dob sites are. Chris, we can probably talk a little bit more about that in the breakout room, but we don't really have a timeline yet for either the observatories or the Dobbs. Our plan is to try to get going as soon as possible, but there's a lot of legwork and pre-coordination that needs to happen with the county and all those kinds of things first, but we want to do it as a single phase. But we can talk more about that in the CAC breakout room.
We do have a team actively working on the member observatories, which will include the large Dob site stuff.
There is a question about, are the meeting recordings available on the TAAA website?
And yes, they are. So I'll show you roughly where to find those when I go over to the website as well. And so I think that's all the current questions. So let me
I'll stop my share now, Jim.
Okay.
So
let me go ahead and show you the website here real quick, and then I'll finish assigning up the breakout rooms. I'll probably activate them first and then go ahead and finish getting everybody set up.
So after the website, then we would probably be saying goodbye to our Facebook
yes.
people. Okay.
All right, so here's the basic website you all should be seeing. under TAAA resources, and the basic website is just TucsonAstronomy.org. Under TAAA resources, observing sites, you'll see the Chiricahua Astronomy Complex, the TIMPA ones, and then there's some member observatory projects as well. Chiricahua, you can also get more information about the Night Sky Learning Center and views from the dark site. But if you just click on this main one right here, and that brings up the CAC webpage. It gives you the location. It gives you, these are all links, the directions of how to get there, rules of use. What we have right now for the COVID rules and site reopening process. If you're first time going out to CAC, then there's a first time users primer here. You can also access the CAC weather station, so you can see what the weather's like, a weather summary. Also a link to the clear dark sky chart for CAC. And then we also have an all sky camera out there that'll show you some of that kind of stuff. And I might come back and click on that here just briefly to show you that. And then there's just some background about CAC and observing and facilities. We never did show the overview video, did we? We kind of blew right by that. And I think that's really important to show. So we'll go back and show that. And here's the link for that right here. And then there's some pictures about the observatories and things like that, and different things going on out there. So that's kind of CAC in a nutshell, and some of the other ones. To join, just come over here under membership, and you can click on how to join, and that will give you the information you need to join the club. Fees are very nominal. You can also renew by mail, so you can print something out if you want to. And also to join the Astronomical League is right here, and things like that. So this one's got quite a bit on here. If you want a link to watch this recording later, if you're a member, you come over here to the members only section, and you would sign in to, let's see if this works, but you'd sign in to Member Planet, and that way you would get access to the member only page from there. So there's lots of resources up here. There's stuff about events. Some of our Star Party information is here. Some things we're doing out in the community about us, and home and everything. The main page, which has some other shortcuts there. So wealth of information on here. The meeting information is always on there as well. So before we show the video, and it's only about a 4.5 minute video, but it'll give you kind of a good overview of CAC. Are there any questions on the website? Doesn't look like there's much here. It's pretty.
There was a question about recordings.
Yeah, the recording. So again, that's when you want to see the recording. If you're a member, you sign in on the members only section. And then you'll come to another page that will give you links to the recording. So this meeting would be one of those recordings. And we basically put it on YouTube as a unlisted meeting. So you need to have the link. Sometimes it'll be as a public one so that anybody can go to it and see it.
And we have another mention on chat from Michael, who was the Facebook person, I think, who asked the question about building a telescope. And he says, I will be joining and reach out once I'm a member. The plan is to complete a 12.5-inch reflector that my grandfather started grinding years ago, eventually building a small observatory in his honor for student and private use. And we do have a number of members, Michael, who have built their own observatories. We have had a series of presentations in the club from some of those members. We've not completed those presentations yet, but there certainly are people in the club, who could be very helpful with suggestions and showing you their observatories and their telescopes.
Yeah, so anything else on the website, and then we'll do this quick video, and then we'll get into, probably 20-minute, 25-minute breakout room. So we'll see how the discussions go.
Well, I think Mike McDowell has a presentation too.
Oh, that's right. Mikey, you're going to do the treasures.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do this quick video and then we'll do the treasures and then we can see how much time we have for breakout.
And we will, after the video, we will say goodbye to Facebook people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's just kind of a ground level overview of CAC. I'm just going to stop the music and see if it gets a little less jumpy on the feed. It is smooth on the computer, so the recording should be pretty good if you want to watch it later. Or you can, like I said, you can watch it from the website as well.
These boxes are the housings for the Dobsonian, the 40-inch Dob, and on the left, the 9-inch refractor. There's the Dob. We call him Big Boy. And that is a folded refractor. Many of you probably have never seen one of those. Wally Rogers Observatory is named after a late member who was very into teaching young people about astronomy. And he is the one that donated 3 of the telescopes that, 2 of the telescopes that will go on the learning pad and this one right here. Extraordinarily generous member. You see the observing pads are all powered.
Yeah, so that's the 10 public pads, and then these are the member leased pads here.
This 8-meter pad will have a 25-inch obsession on it by the end of the year. Ground building is our restroom. Our restrooms and our shower. There is a shower there in that building. It's the ramada that comes in really handy in the summertime. As you can see, there's not very much in the way of trees obstructing our view. And some of the money that was raised was a brick program where you would buy a brick and have it inscribed as part of your donation to build that ramada. You can see we had many generous donors. My favorite building on the site.
Yeah, just off the nose of the RVs here is basically where the, I think where the member observatories are going, right?
That's right. Still have quite a few acres to develop.
Yep. All right, so yeah.
I
we go over
think
to-
there was a question in the chat.
So let's see, one is, what are the lease durations? We haven't really figured that out yet, I don't believe, but
They'll
go ahead, Ed.
probably be 10 years.
For the member observatories.
The member observatories, that's right.
How are the snakes and critters? They're alive and well, but they pretty well stay undercover. We have had come to some rattlesnakes and a few other critters and things like that, but for the most part, they behave themselves.
The places that we're normally moving and walking, you can see that the property is very well groomed, and you're on walkways and graveled areas that don't seem to attract the critters so much. If you get off the edge of the gravel and start going into the brush, there are jackrabbits the size of kangaroos. There's a lot of critters out there.
Yes. And we don't recommend that people go into the undeveloped areas of the site because you don't know what critters that you may encounter there. So.
May, I don't know if you know the answer to that. Well, we haven't really done any new bricks, but I'm assuming that the brick recognition program is still active.
My understanding is that it was still open. However, I don't think that we've had anyone purchase bricks in a long, long time. But
It's
we
been
could
3
certainly,
years.
yeah, we could certainly follow up on that and check the status of that. That's a good question, Don. What about the pad leases? Does that mean the duration of the lease?
I assume so. It's asked by the same person.
Okay, so do you want to answer that question?
Well, the member pads, I don't know that we ever set a duration on those. There's an annual maintenance fee on those, and so there has not been much turnover, however, on those since they were built. I'm not even certain exactly when that was.
Yes, they're set up so that when someone leases one, they can renew the lease, perpetually. As long as they pay their lease every year, then they can continue with the lease, but they can give it up whenever they want to. So so there's no set duration to the member pad leases, and you just have to check to see, if one's coming available, and it gets advertised if one is available.
So basically, as long as you're a member in good standing, they're good for, and you pay the maintenance dues, they should be good. Lease should be good for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Is that it?
There was a comment that the comment from Michael on Facebook was amazing, and looking forward to virtually meeting some of the members. So good.
Absolutely.
We look forward to that too, Michael. So